Hello, my name is Alex and welcome to an instructional video on how to set up 7 mode for a NetApp machine in a virtual environment. To follow this video, you will need a VMware virtual environment and the NetApp virtual machine, which you will have to download from the NetApp website, which unfortunately is behind a paywall, so you have to buy it, or if you're a student, get your tertiary education provider to get a copy for you. The NetApp machine comes as 2 zip files, which you'll need to extract and upload to your data center before watching this video. This will take anywhere between 1 and 2 hours to set up, depending on your host machine. So I'm going to speed up the video to the important parts that involve your instructions. We begin by starting up the NetApp virtual machine on your host machine. When it gives you the option to go into the boot menu, press Ctrl C. We want to do a fresh install, so we're going to select option 4 and then yes to the next 2 questions. After a wait, it will reboot, but this time you can just leave it to finish the install. As mentioned, this will take 40 minutes, so I'm going to fast forward to the next part. Eventually, it will ask you to give your new machine a name and put in your IP address for your 4 virtual network cards. These IP addresses will be unique to your system, but this is how I set up mine. It will ask you a series of questions, all of which by default have been filled out for you, and you can see them in square brackets. Press enter to accept these defaults or write your own. I'm going to accept the defaults because the alternatives allow you to do special things with your NetApp machine that generally aren't required. Jumbo frames are for Ethernet connections that send packets that are 1500 bytes or larger. Most ISPs can't handle this, but if you have a gigabit network and its associated gigabit switches, then this can be advantageous. I have no need for jumbo frames, so I'm going to leave it off. I'm going to leave the media type as auto, as it will automatically scale up to the maximum that my network can accept. For older networks, you will need to select the type of network you are actually using. At the moment, I don't have an administration host set up, but putting in an IP address here increases security, as it will then only accept changes from that IP address. You will have to set an administrator password, and then repeat the password to make sure you've typed it correctly. It will then do an install of the new settings, ask you for your new password, and then reboot. Once it has completed the install, you can set your licenses. You can see your licenses by typing license show. As my license is unique to me and I don't want it escaping into the wild, I'm not going to do this now, but you can do this by typing set env space sys underscore serial underscore num num followed by your license key. We now need to power cycle the machine by shutting it down and starting it again. I'm now going to show you how to make a bigger hard drive rack for your NetApp virtual machine. You will need to open the properties of the virtual machine by right clicking on its name and selecting properties. Then clicking on the 4th hard drive and then clicking remove. Then click add hard disk and click next. By default the hard drives are IDE, so we're going to select that and then select next. You'll want to create a new virtual disk, so just click next. I'm going to store the virtual hard disk as a single file and change the disk size to 550 gigabytes. Don't click allocate now, as it will just waste a whole heap of space that you could use for other things. You can now name the virtual disk, but I'm just going to click next to keep it as the default. You can now see your new hard drive. Click OK to accept those changes. We now restart our machine and then go into the boot menu. We want to do a fresh install, so we're going to select option 4 and then yes to the next 2 questions. After a lengthy install, it's going to ask you the same questions as it did last time. As I've already covered this once before, I'm going to leave you to it. We are now going to escalate our privileges to advanced. With admin privileges, we're now going to unlock the diagnostic user and then assign a password to that person. One thing that can get quite annoying is when you get system messages right in the middle of what you're typing, as you'll see here. We're now going to go into the system shell and log in as the user diag and use the password you just gave it. We're now going to add the directory with the simulated distals to the path and then go to the simulated devices directory. Typing ls will now give us a list of all the hard drives that we currently have in our hard drive rack. As you can see, we have 2 hard drive racks, 0 and 1. We now use sudo remove to remove both racks 0 and 1. and then the reservations on those hard drives. Now we change the directory to simdev. Typing vsim underscore make disks space -h will show us what kind of hard drive racks that we can create. We're now going to make 2 racks. Each rack will have 14 hard drives of type 36. Type 36 is 9,000 megabytes. Typing list all disks will give us a nice big list of all the disks that we've just created. To de-escalate our privileges, we now type exit and then lock the diagnostic user. And now we de-escalate the privileges of the admin and then halt the computer. We now power cycle the machine and then do a clean install. And now we just leave it to run. This process will take about 40 to 50 minutes. And once again we put in our details. We can now look at our disks by typing disk show -n and then disk assign all to assign them all to your new NetApp machine. To confirm that the disks have been assigned to the NetApp machine, type disk show -v. And we're done. Thank you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this presentation.